Hundreds of alien species wait for transport to distant worlds. Seats are full except for one, a female alien, tall and thin, with dull gray skin and glowing eyes, stands alone near the wall. Her species is known across the galaxy as unlucky, cursed, and dangerous to be near. No one speaks to her. No one even looks at her for long. The narrator explains that her kind once ruled star systems, that now they are blamed for an ancient disaster. Since then, her people are treated like shadows seen, but never welcome. She expects the usual, whispered. Fear. Empty space around her, another journey alone. The tension builds as the last boarding call echoes. Every seat fills. She prepares to stand for the entire long journey. A human male enters late. Humans are new to this part of the galaxy, still misunderstood. Other species watch him carefully. He scans the room and walks straight toward her. The station grows quiet. Aliens freeze. Some hiss warnings. Others pull away. He sits beside her without asking. Not nervous, not proud. Just calm. He places his bag down, relaxes, and speaks kindly. He treats her as she belongs. The alien woman is shocked. No one has done this in her entire life. Welcome to my channel, Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The Interstellar transit station was never truly silent. Even in its quiet moments, it hummed with low power lines, distant engines, and the soft echo of thousands of lives moving at once. The ceiling stretched high above, curved like the inside of a massive shell, glowing with pale blue lights that never dimmed. Ships arrived and left every minute, carrying passengers to worlds light years away. This place was meant for movement, not for waiting, and certainly not for standing alone. She stood near the far wall, just beyond the last row of seats. Her long coat hung loosely from her thin frame, its dark fabric worn smooth by years of use. Her hands were folded calmly in front of her, but her fingers were stiff, locked together as if afraid to move. No one stood near her. There was a wide, clear space around her body, like an invisible barrier. Travelers stepped around that space without thinking, the same way one avoids a broken floor panel or an open flame. Some glanced at her and quickly looked away. Others whispered to each other in low voices, their tones sharp with fear or disgust. Did not react. She had learned long ago that reacting only made it worse. Her species was easy to recognize. Her skin was a dull shade of gray, not smooth like most, but faintly lined, as if shaped by stress rather than age. Her eyes glowed softly, a pale silver that reflected light even in shadow. Thin markings curved along her neck and cheeks, symbols of a culture few remembered and fewer respected. Once, those markings meant honor. Now, they meant warning. She was one of the Kalari, across the galaxy. The name carried weight, but not the good kind. The Kalari were remembered as bringers of disaster, as a people whose presence meant failure, collapse, and death. Old stories blamed them for the fall of star systems, for wars that wiped out billions. Whether the stories were true no longer mattered. Belief had replaced truth, and belief was enough to make her unwanted. She shifted her weight slightly as another group of passengers passed by. A small avian species fluttered their wings nervously when they noticed her hurrying away. A tall reptilian being hissed under his breath and pulled his child closer. She kept her gaze lowered. It was easier that way. The seats across the station were nearly full now. Long rows curved gently to match the station's shape, each seat molded to fit different bodies. Families sat together, traders reviewed data pads. Soldiers rested with weapons locked safely at their sides. There was laughter. In places, quiet conversations. Life moving forward. Just not near her. She had boarded transports like this many times before. The pattern never changed. At first, she used to search for a place to sit, hopeful that maybe this time would be different. that maybe someone would. Not mine. She had stopped doing that years ago. Now, she waited until the end. If there was a seat left, she might take it. If not, she would stand. Long journeys were easier than long disappointments. Soft chime echoed through the station. Final boarding call for transport vessel Orion's Wake. The automated voice announced, "All passengers, please take your seats." Departure in 5 minutes. The remaining travelers hurried forward. Bags were lifted. Seats filled. The quiet empty spaces vanished one by one. Her chest tightened slightly. She already knew what would happen. She watched as the last open seat, a narrow one near the center aisle, was claimed by a broad-shouldered alien with metallic skin. He did not notice her. Or if he did not care. The rows were full now. She exhaled slowly. A breath she did not realize she had been holding. Standing it would be. She adjusted the strap of her travel pack and leaned, her back gently against the wall. The metal was cool through her coat. She focused on that sensation, grounding herself, letting the familiar numbness settle in. She told herself it did not matter. It never did. Another sound rippled through the station, then different from the usual noise. Softer footsteps, uneven. Human footsteps. Several heads turned. Humans were still rare this far from their home systems. They were newcomers, explorers, traders, and sometimes troublemakers, depending on who you asked. Some species admired them. Others feared them. Most did not understand them at all. She lifted her eyes slightly. The human entered through the main gate, moving quickly as if he had almost missed the transport. He was taller than many species, but not the tallest. His body was solid, balanced, built for endurance rather than elegance. He wore simple clothing, practical and worn, with a small pack slung over one shoulder. His face showed mild stress, but not fear. He slowed as he looked around, scanning the rows of seats. She looked away. Humans, like all others, avoided her kind once they learned who she was. It would be no different. The human took a few steps forward, then a few more. The space around her remained empty. No one stood near her. No one ever did, until he stopped. She sensed it before she saw it, a shift in the air. A presence too close. Her eyes lifted. The human was standing directly in front of her. Her heart skipped once. Sharp and sudden. For a moment, neither of them spoke. He looked at her, not past her, not away, but at her. His eyes were brown, steady, curious. There was no fear in them. No disgust, just attention. She felt exposed, as if something deep and fragile had been uncovered. Before she could speak, before she could warn him, he turned slightly and lowered himself into the seat beside her. The seat no one had wanted, the seat that existed only because no one else would sit near her. The sound of him sitting echoed louder than it should have. The station changed. Whispers spread like sparks. Several passengers froze mid-movement. A few stood up immediately, leaving their seats without explanation. Others stared openly now, their expressions tight with alarm. She remained standing. Stunned. He looked up at her, confused. "Oh," he said gently. "Did you want to sit?" Her throat tightened. Her voice was soft, rough from disuse. "That seat is not safe." He frowned slightly. "It looks fine to me." She shook her head, the markings on her neck catching the light. "You should move." Instead of standing, he shifted his bag to his feet and leaned back, relaxed. "I've stood all day," he said. "I think I'll sit." Her pulse raced. "You don't understand," she whispered. "My people, I know who you are," he said calmly. That stopped her. Slowly. She lowered herself into the seat, leaving a careful distance between them. Her body felt stiff, uncertain, as if she were sitting on something fragile. Around them, tension thickened. A loud voice called out from across the aisle. Human, are you unaware of the risk? The human turned his head slightly. I'm aware of rumors, a hiss followed. They are not rumors. The Kalari woman closed her eyes briefly. This was how it always went. Anger, fear, blame. She waited for him to stand up. He did not. Another voice joined in. Station security has protocols for this. The human raised his hand calmly. I'm seated, that's all. Footsteps approached. Heavy ones. Security guards. Her shoulders slumped. This was her fault. It always was. The guards stopped in front of them, towering over both of them. Their armor gleamed, weapons visible but not raised. One of them looked down at the human. You will move. The human looked up, still seated, still calm. No, he said. A sharp intake of breath spread through the crowd. The Kalari woman stared at him. Disbelief flooding her chest. The guard's voice hardened. You place yourself and others at risk. The human's voice did not change. Then I choose that risk. Silence fell. The station seemed to hold its breath. The Kalari woman felt something stir inside her, something unfamiliar, fragile and dangerous. Hope. The guard steadied the human for a long moment, and then the human spoke again, softly, clearly. Words meant for everyone to hear. If no one else will sit with her, he said, then I will. The guards did not move, and for the first time in her life, she was not standing alone. The silence that followed the human's words felt heavier than sound. The station did not move. The guards did not move. The crowd remained frozen in place, as if the entire room was waiting to see whether reality itself would bend or break. The Kalari woman sat rigid in her seat, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. Her breathing was shallow. Every instinct told her this moment would end badly. Moments like this always did. One of the guards finally shifted his weight. His helmet tilted slightly as he studied the human more closely. You choose to accept responsibility. The guard said. The human nodded. Yes, and you understand the consequences. I do. The guard paused again. The tension stretched so thin it felt ready to snap. Then slowly he stepped back. Very well, the guard said. Remain seated. A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. The Kalari woman's eyes widened. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure others could hear it. She stared straight ahead, afraid that if she moved, if she breathed too deeply, this fragile moment would disappear. The transport doors began to close. A deep vibration ran through the floor as the ship prepared for departure. The lights dimmed slightly, shifting into travel mode. One by one, passengers returned to their seats, though many kept their distance. The space around her and the human remained wider than anywhere else, but it was no longer empty. The ship lifted smoothly, pulling away from the station. Stars stretched across the viewing panels, turning into bright lines as the vessel entered. Faster than light travel. Only then did the Kalari woman realize her hands were shaking. She tried to still them, pressing her palms together. The human noticed. You're safe, he said quietly. She let out a small, broken laugh. I have never been that. He turned toward her slightly, careful not to invade her space. There's a first time for everything. She studied him. From the corner of her eye, humans had always fascinated her, even from a distance. They were physically soft compared to many species, yet they carried themselves with a strange confidence, as if they expected the universe to make room for them. Why? She asked at last. He blinked. Why what? Why sit here? Her voice trembled despite her effort to control it. Why sit with me? He considered the question seriously, as if it deserved careful thought. Because you look like someone who had been standing too long, he said. Her breath caught. That is not a reason, she whispered. It is for humans. She looked down at her lap. The markings on her hands seemed darker now. or visible. Shame stirred, old and familiar. "You know what they say about my people," she said. "You heard them." "I did." "And you still stayed." "Yes." "Even if it's true?" He did not answer right away. "When humans were young," he said slowly, "we blamed storms for our fears. We blamed shadows. We blamed each other. It was easier than facing the truth." She frowned. "What truth?" "That bad things happen," he said. "And sometimes no one is to blame." Her chest tightened. No one had ever said that to her before. A nearby passenger shifted uncomfortably. A tall insectoid alien leaned forward, mandibles clicking softly. "You speak without understanding," the alien said. "The Kalari brought ruin. Records prove it." The human turned his head calmly. "Records can lie." The alien's eyes narrowed. "History does not lie." The human smiled faintly. "It does all the time." The Kalari woman closed her eyes, bracing herself for anger, for shouting, for punishment. Instead, the human reached into his pack. Several passengers tensed. He removed a small data pad and activated it. The screen glowed softly. "I didn't come here unprepared," he said. The guards watched closely but did not intervene. "These records," the human continued, "are human records. Cross-reference with archived data from systems long destroyed. We found gaps. Missing chains. Convenient silence." He placed the data pad on the shared armrest between him and the Kalari woman. Careful not to touch her, she stared at the screen, her heart racing. Images scrolled past star maps, energy signatures, broken timelines. This disaster, the human said, did not begin with the Kalari. Murmurs rose. "It began with a coalition," he continued. "Powerful species who experimented with forces they did not understand. When it failed, they needed someone to blame." The insectoid alien hissed, "Lies?" "Then explain this," the human said gently. He enlarged one image. The energy pattern matched an ancient Kalari design, but it was twisted, forced, unstable. "They copied Kalari technology," he said, "and when it collapsed, they erased their involvement." The Kalari woman felt dizzy. Her people had always known the truth in fragments. Whispers passed down through generations, stories spoken only in private. But no one had ever believed them until now. A deep voice spoke from the back of the cabin. "Why reveal this now?" A human woman stood and stepped forward. Then another, and another. They took the empty seats around the Kalari woman without hesitation. The guards watched, but did not stop them, because hiding the truth only protects the guilty. The human man said. The Kalari woman's vision blurred. She blinked rapidly, struggling to stay composed. A human seated across from her offered a small package of food, holding it out with open hands. "You don't have to take it," the woman said softly. "Just thought you might be hungry." The Kalari woman hesitated, then accepted it with trembling fingers. No one pulled away. No one flinched. Something inside her cracked. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. She made no sound. She had cried enough in her life to know when words would fail. The ship continued its steady journey through the stars. Other species watched quietly now, some with doubt, some with shame. The human beside her leaned closer, his voice low. "You don't have to carry their lies anymore," he said. She shook her head. "They are all I have known. Then let us help you set them down." She straightened slowly in her seat. For the first time, she did not feel the need to make herself smaller. The markings on her skin caught the light again, but now they did not look like warnings. They looked like crowns. A soft chime echoed through the cabin. "Attention. Passengers," the automated voice announced. "We are approaching our destination." The Kalari woman turned to the human beside her. "My name," she said carefully, "is Salith." He smiled. I'm Daniel. They shared a quiet moment, simple and real. As the ship began its descent. Messages spread across networks faster than light. Data shared, records questioned. Old truths challenged. This moment would not remain here. The ship landed smoothly. When the doors opened. Sayla stood. So did the humans around her. She walked forward, not alone. Not hidden. Heads turned as she passed, but this time, the space around her did not feel empty. It felt open. At the exit. She paused and looked back once. Daniel met her gaze. You sat with me, she said, as though I mattered. He shrugged lightly. You always did. She stepped off the ship, and somewhere across the galaxy, a forgotten throne waited, not made of metal or stone, but of truth, finally spoken and